Question 2 on the health paper will ask you to explain the significance of something for 8 marks. Now, where it says explain the significance of, that part will always remain the same, the stem of the question. You can see I've highlighted it in blue on the left there. And what we're looking for is really 2 paragraphs if possible. Take about 10 minutes with your writing. And this question is very similar to question 2 of Elizabeth, where it asks you about importance. This question also wants you to explain why something mattered or why it was important. However, here you need to think about importance in the short term and long term to get high marks. So let's distinguish between the two. Short term is basically what happens in the time period itself. So within the revision guide that I've given you, where it appears, was there much change? If so, then there was high significance. And if there wasn't much change, then there was low significance. You need to explain why there was lots of change or not lots of change in the short term. And then the same again in the long term. What happens after the time period? So, for example, if your person appears in the Renaissance, then what happens during the 3rd and the 4th time period? Does much change? You can always link it to the present day as well. What have you got in the present day because of this person's work? So let's look at a question here then. Explain the significance of, again, that question stem, William Harvey to the development of surgery. This is how I'd start off, a really focused answer. Hopefully this colour coding is clear. One reason why, and I've put in now William Harvey because he's our focus, was significant to, we've got the development of surgery, in the short term, so I'm making it really clear to my examiner what I'm talking about, was that he challenged old ideas about the body. So I'm explaining what he did here. Now what I need to do is explain why this matters, why is it important, why is it significant. I need to show good knowledge and explain what happened and how much change there was. And if we look here, I've put down, this helped develop surgery as he was able to understand how blood circulated around the body. Through his experiments, he proved Galen was wrong about the liver creating blood and it being used like a fuel. He proved through mathematics that the body was circulating blood instead, and through experiments on the frog dissection, he could show how blood moved around the body. However, this impact was limited in the short term, as his book showing his findings, De Motu Cautis, was not accepted by many. Harvey could not explain the circulation system completely, for example, why some blood was blue in the body. Many still believed Galen in the 4 humours, as shown by bloodletting continuing as a treatment. Therefore, Harvey was significant to the development of surgery, but this was limited at the time. Now, if we look here, there's 2 things that we can see. Where have I shown my examiner I've got good knowledge, and where have I focused on change and how it was limited here and why? That's what they're looking for this question. Hopefully this colour coding makes that clear. What I then do is I do exactly the same thing for the long term. What happens after the time period? Did much change? How does it link into the present day? So one reason why Harvey was significant to surgery in the long term, again I'm making that really clear for the examiner, was his work helped develop new ideas and techniques that have saved millions of lives. Harvey's ideas became more accepted as science helped to prove his ideas correct and develop them further. Understanding precisely the circulation of blood and how the heart works has been vital in progressing surgery and diagnosing illness. For example, in 1914, blood transfusions were used in World War I, and heart transplants began in England in 1968. These surgical techniques would not have been possible without the work of Harvey, who began a better understanding into blood circulation, leading to huge developments in surgery in the modern day. And that is what the answer looks like there. And all I've done is I've just at the bottom, I've just done a short sentence basically linking the 2 together, explaining that the impact wasn't significant in the short term, but there was a much larger impact in the long term. So remember for this one, we're looking for 2 paragraphs ideally, 10 minutes to write this. You wouldn't spend longer than that on this question. And just focus on exactly what the question wants. It could be a specific impact. So here we saw the impact on surgery we had to narrow in on. Really focus on that word important, significance. Why did it matter? What changed? What did it lead to? Try to do a paragraph each on short term and long term, so after their time period, and label them so they're really clear to your examiner. Analyse how much change there was in each of those periods and why. So the short term, how much change was there and why. Long term, how much change was there and why. And finally, they might give you something from the modern day, like for example, the creation of the NHS. Well, if they do that, short-term impact at the time it happens, so for the NHS 1948, what happens in the first few years, and then long-term focus on the present day.